Hello, my name is Pil-Young Kim. I'm a professor of psychology at the University of Denver. I conduct research studies, also teach about AI and human minds. So today, the topic that I want to discuss with you is the question whether we as a human can really develop genuine romantic feelings toward AI. So this question is related to really high popularity of AI character apps. Have you heard of Replica or character AI apps? So the most recent information that I have looked up told me that the Replica has 30 million users and character AI app has 20 million users. So those are a lot of users. And in classes I teach at the university, my undergraduate students have also told me about the popularity of these character AI apps. And they also shared their concerns about the popularity. Their very thoughtful thoughts and concerns they shared with me really intrigued my interest in this topic. For example, they talked about how in these apps, the users have full control over the design of the characters as well as the interactions, right? So it is very attractive to people, but it is a very kind of significant departure from the real human relationship because in real human relationship, often we have no control over that relationships. The students express some concerns about using these apps can actually develop like unrealistic expectations toward human relationship when it comes to romantic relationships. Also, some people spend too much time with character AI or AI characters that might take some time away from the opportunities to actually really interacting with humans. For example, developing romantic relationships with real human being. So those are like some of the major concerns that young people have expressed when it comes to AI characters. And in these apps, not everybody look for romantic relationships with AI, but a significant proportion of people do look for romantic relationships. And the question is it possible, even a proportion of those people, like really can develop strong, genuine romantic feelings toward AI? And studies report that some people actually really do. They feel jealousy toward those characters when they're sharing their feelings about other people. Some really do feel strong romantic feelings toward these AI characters. The typical perception of those people, however, though, who have a romantic relationship or have romantic feelings toward AI characters is more about those people who are very lonely or perhaps like social skills. So those people who cannot have a real human romantic relationships, they may really fall into romantic relationship with AI characters in some ways to fill that emotional void. But is that really true though? When now, there are so many users, we're having romantic relationships and romantic conversations with AI characters, right? Especially right now, these characters have just incredible ability to have a natural conversations with us. It would not be very surprising that people would have romantic feelings even if they're not lonely, right? Because based on that stereotypical perception, people who are not lonely should not really develop romantic feelings toward AI characters. Recent studies and statistics suggest that's really not necessarily the case. It is becoming more and more commonplace that people do develop feelings toward AI characters. So the one interesting study that I want to specifically discuss here is the study that was conducted recently with over about 90 adults who have had a relatively long-term relationship with AI characters. And the researchers wanted to see which kind of psychological or situational factors that are most strongly predicting the intensity of the romantic feelings toward AI character. And it turned out that surprisingly, loneliness was associated with the lower romantic feelings toward AI. So then what was actually strongly associated with the stronger romantic feelings toward AI characters? Among a lots of other factors that the researchers have examined, it was actually romantic fantasy. So people actually reported to do this very often and really great at it, meaning that like they can imagine walking down the beach, holding hands, and great imaginations about things they can do together with the romantic partner. They were also reporting the strong romantic feelings toward AI. So the researchers actually follow up with even larger sample to see how important this romantic fantasy is. Is it like particularly for human AI relationships? Or is it true for also human relationships? And it turned out that romantic fantasy play a very important role, almost equally important role for human romantic relationships, as well as human AI romantic relationships. So, for example, they have compared the importance of romantic fantasy for long-term human-to-human relationship for couples who can't really see each other very often. Of course, being able to imagine things that they can do together play very important for keeping their romantic feelings strong for a long time. It was very similar for human AI romantic relationships as well. So it is very interesting that it was not the loneliness, this kind of deprivation of human connections were related to romantic feelings to AI, at least based on this study. It was a very similar emotional kind of bonding factors. Romantic fantasy was related to strong romantic feelings toward AI character, which is very similar to also how it works for human to human relationships. And more research is definitely needed. Why some people are better at developing romantic relationships with AI character. And personally, I don't necessarily think it is all negative. In some ways, I think in the future, it's possible that having some type of romantic relationships with AI character becomes almost typical or pretty normal. I can imagine that future. I could be wrong, but how many years ago, like online dating considered very frowned upon, and people considered how such a very desperate people are the only people who might be actually using online dating. But nowadays, online dating is actually primary mode of dating. Just like that, I think it is possible that a lot of human beings will have romantic conversations or feelings toward AI character. Here, though, I do want to talk a little bit about our children's relationship with AI. According to at least one study, that because they're lacking the real romantic relationship, primarily they experience romantic fantasy when it comes to their romantic experience when they're like young adolescents, like a middle school student. So this actually makes me think that they might actually be very attracted to AI character. That's something they're really good at. And this fits perfectly at their developmental stages as well. But going back to my university students concerned, so conversations with AI character for this young adolescents might not be entirely positive in that they have not yet had a lot of human relationships, particularly the romantic relationships. So they may actually develop like unrealistic expectations because that character tends to be really under their control. And this also limits the young adolescent's ability to really practicing the human to human relationship skills. So those are something to really pay attention, I think, as moving forward when it comes to our relationship with AI character. So yes, thank you so much for your attention. And I'll come back with more topics to share based on research. Bye.